All right. Hello. Good morning. Yeah. My name is Olusegun, um, a software developer, and I'll be taking you guys on web design. Okay. Very close. All right. So I'll be taking you guys web design. Let's just do a brief introduction. Right. Can I get your name? Jeremiah. Your name? Say Savior. Savior of the world. Yeah. So if I may ask you guys, what do you understand about web design? Any prior to any programming language? None before, right? None. Hmm? Mm.
Visual, um, just a visual plan on a website.
Okay, yeah. You actually tried, yeah. It's actually correct. Let me give a quick. Don't mind my handwriting, right? It's been a while I actually write. Web design. Okay, let me use two steps here. Um, First one is visual look, layout, and usability. Sorry, I hope my handwriting is actually clear. My handwriting, is it clear? Yeah, so I'll just right? So what is their niche? They are trying to target both wholesalers and also retailers. So it's like a B2B. So we'll say come to that. So there's what they call business to okay, yeah. So there's what we call business to business. So we'll take on to that. So Amazon is more of like a B2B platform. So they are trying to build a platform such that you as a wholesalers, you can put your product there, and also the retailers or end users like us, we can go there to buy products. So that's part of what user experience is all about. Okay, I was trying to talk about the niche right before I dive. So the niche is still more of like when you are trying to build a site. Okay, so when you're trying to build a site, you try to focus on the niche. Who are your targeted audience? So that's for that. Then the user interface. The user interface is more of like, let me use the word, the button that you see, the button, the colors, the yeah, those are the two major stuff. Like the buttons that you see, the menus that you see. You see some sites that the button can be somehow round like this, right? You see some like a box. You see some content in some sites. They can use like is this fair? Something like this. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry, don't mind my drawing, right? So they can use something like this. All these are like interface. So interface are more of like the buttons or text. You see some text, they will try to give it some style. It can be like dragging or dancing, stuff like that. All those ones are like the interface. Then the next one is the content. So content is more of like the text, the pictures, the videos that you see on the site. Probably on Instagram or Facebook, you see some pictures or some videos. Those are the contents. Then the accessibility and usability. Now, there is a standard, probably one we'll get to, probably our next section. There is what we call W3C. W3C. It's a World Wide Web Consortium. So this body, they actually try to regulate how a website is supposed to look, like a standard website. So when you are building a website, you are not building a website for, you are trying to consider the blind, those who can see, and so many other impaired consequences about different users. So these people, they actually try to regulate a lot of things that will make a website much more appealing to different categories of users. So that is where the accessibility actually comes in. Imagine you can try to check some site, for example, now. You'll be getting some hints. Or, okay, let's say, for example, now your mobile phone or mobile application. Let's say, for example, you sign up on a mobile app. You see, they call it like a walkthrough, right? You'll be getting like an icon that will say, if you want to add wallet, click on this one. If you want to do this one, do this one. So all those sections are more of like accessibility. So they are trying to make this, they are taking into consideration that you guys don't know how to operate the site, or you don't know how the apps looks like. So they will give you like a guide how you can actually access the site, how you can browse through the site. So that is what the accessibility comes in, and also the usability. So sorry, I'm actually trying to wrap up a lot. We are like a day behind. So, but then I will drop like a small note that we can actually use. Sorry, can I get the map? So, let me use this section, yeah? This is not for me. All right. So I was saying something about this web design, like they make use of some tools, right? To design how a website is supposed to look like. And this section are more of like the coding aspect, right? So now for this web design and web development, I'll be showing some basic tools that you use in designing all those stuff. So for web design, we have what is called Code Editor. Okay. All right. So these are some tools that is being used by both a web designer and also web development. Okay. Let me say another thing. So these two, you can combine these two together, right? These two are two different bros, because the should I say IT world is actually broad, or web development is actually broad. So you can decide to start with this route and come to this route. But however, you can give yourself a double promotion from this guy and just jump to this side here. So the option is yours. But I'll try and break the two together so that you try to understand, then you can now try to assess yourself based on which role do you want to fit in. Now, for this web design and web development, the tools that they use are prototyping tools. Okay, they are saying they want to see the text like my documents. I don't know if okay. Which one is you're not seeing very well? This section, right? Can I just rewrite it? Oh, okay, all right, no problem. So I was saying something like these two sections. I was saying that you can actually skip one. You can start with one, then you jump to the next one, or you can just combine both. But my own type, I like doing double promotion. So I skip from this section here and move to this section here. But then I'll try and break the two together so that we all understand. So, but these two, they make use of some tools, right, to design a website or to design how a website should look like. And first and first, we have what is called Code Editor. So probably from maybe tomorrow, yeah, or next, we'll start doing the coding section. So this section is still more of like an introduction or introductory class, right? So now we have what is called Code Editor. Code Editor is more of like tools that developers use to write code or to develop a website. It could be a website, it could be a software, yeah. So we use what is called Code Editor. So we have different code editor that you can use depending on your choice or your preference, right? So for this code editor, we have Notepad, which is the should I call it the starter level? Yeah. So you start with Notepad. I believe we all know Notepad now. That is on your system. Notepad. Yes. Some use Notepad to start with. You use Notepad. We have Sublime. Don't mind my test. We have VS Code. That's Visual Studio Code. I don't know why my writing is like this. It's been a while I actually write though. Sorry. We have VS Code or Visual Studio Code. We have so many others. So depending on your choice, like I said, your choice or preference. But these two are like more of like, I can't say like they are the best. Yeah. What I've actually used, Sublime and VS Code. Then for design tool, this design tool is still more of what entails on Web Designer. So for design tools, they make use of Figma. They use Figma. Figma is still more of like a drag and drop. It's a software. I just let me use this. Okay, I think there's a tool that these architectural people normally use. Adobe. I've forgotten that software. All these are architects. There's one software they use. So that software is more of like what Figma does. So you easily be dragging and drop. Let's say, for example, you want to design Facebook, for example. So that tools gives you everything. You have a button, you have a text, you have different icons and stuff you can use. So you can now start sketching out how you want your website to look like. You can say, oh, I want my menu to be at this center here. I want to have my logo here. I want to have like a small space here. Then I want to have like another menu here. That will be like maybe login, sign up, or any other stuff. So you can say that is from this design tool, Figma. Yeah. So you can say here, I want to have like a footer here. Basically, what this one does with this Figma is you're not writing any code. You are using this tool to design the website. So you can say this section, I want to have a footer here. This one can be your footer. This one can be your maybe sidebar here. Then your content here. So with this Figma design, you can sketch out this stuff. That is what Figma is all about. On a broader scope, I'll try and give us a snippet on that. There are like 2 or 3 different layers in the software world. We have the product design. We have the front-end developers. We have the back-end developers. We have cloud engineers. We have cybersecurity. We have a lot different branches like that. So, okay, that's for design tools. Basically, it's just for this guy. They make use of more of these design tools. But however, if you are trying to build a software, there are other design tools that you can use to build a software. Another one is we have Visual Studio Code. We have Visual Studio Code. So this stuff, they use it to build a software too. I don't know if we've been to maybe supermarkets. If you're trying to see their, what is it called? Their POS machine. You see some kind of stuff, how they print the POS stuff. So they make use of, similarly, I've seen some. They use this guy, this Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio. They use it to build the software. So you can also use this design tool to build a software. It could be a you can use it to build a website. You can use it to build just a normal software. Maybe a POS, attendance, maybe some small register. You can use this guy to build stuff like that. That's for design tools. Then the third one is we have language. For language is more of web design, web development. So for language, we have a whole lot of languages. We have a lot. We have over 100. You can't know everything. Yes, you just have to pick the one that I would say that you want to focus on. Then I'll see you can always try and remind me, I want to give us a broader scope or something. Software. Okay, so for language, we have different languages, like I said. So we have the basic one that we will be starting with, probably starting from our next section, is we have HTML. We have HTML, which is hypertext markup language. Sorry. Markup language. HTML is also a language. So we'll be starting with that. Then we have another one, it's CSS. So you can't say it's like a language though, but you can still say it's a language. This one is a cascading style sheet. So we'll still get to that. Then another language that I can talk about is we have JavaScript. Don't mind my writing. We have JavaScript, we have Java, we have PHP, we have Python. These are like some major languages. We have JavaScript, we have Java. And you'll be wondering, what's wrong between Java and JavaScript? There's a whole lot of difference between the two, right? Then this PHP is, it's also like a framework too. It's also a language. I will try and give us a snippet on that later on. And this guy, this one, they use it more of in machine learning language. And also, maybe in some robotics. Yeah, they use Python for that. Then, yeah, that's for language. Then framework. For framework, we have different framework. Now, for this PHP, for example, we have like two notable frameworks. This framework has to do with language. So every language has their own framework. Now, for PHP, for example, now we have CodeIgniter. CodeIgniter. Don't mind my handwriting. We have Laravel. Those are like the two notable ones. Then for Python, we have like Flask. We have Flask and we have Flask and we have Django. Django. Yeah, those are like framework under Python. So not really much on JavaScript. So you can say JavaScript and TypeScript. So for this guy, the JavaScript and TypeScript, we have different framework too for that. This is like a, I don't know how to put it, like an is a whole entire how can I put it? Like an whole entire framework on its own. It's actually broad. This guy is very broad. They are all also broad, right? But this section too. We have different frameworks under this JavaScript and TypeScript. For the front end and back end, for front end, we can be talking about React. How many of us have heard of React? React. Okay, don't worry, we'll still get to that. So under this guy, we have React, we have Next.js, we have Next.js. So that's for under this framework here. So this is also kind of like broad, right? I'm just trying to give us a sneak peek on that. Then as time goes on, when we dive into the coding section, I will start try to explain everything further so that we'll better understand it. Then the prototyping tools. Prototyping tools is more of like an extension that you can use to make your coding much more faster. Let's take for example, you're trying to build a Facebook, for example, and probably you have let's say you want to build a website, right? This is your website, and you have like your menu here, and you have something like a banner here, right? And this banner, you want the banner to be sliding. You see some side that the banner will be sliding, right? So this section, this banner section here, you can actually hard code it. So I'll be using some terms, yeah. So you can actually try to hard code it. let's say, for example, you want to hard code a banner, for example, now, you can write like almost 100 lines of code. Instead of stressing yourself trying to write that code, you can try to make use of some prototyping tools. So these prototyping tools are more of like a tools that actually helps your work much more faster and cleaner and also efficient. So part of these prototyping tools is we have like Bootstrap. We have Bootstrap. We have okay. We have Framer. Framer Motion. Let me just point these two out. So this Bootstrap actually helps your work much more faster when you are building a website, for example. I use the notion like, let's say you're trying to build a simple blog, for example, and you want to start writing the code by itself from the header to the footer. Let's say, for example, it's going to take you like 1 hour, right? For an instance. So why not go for like all these prototyping tools that they already have like a template that you can actually use. So in using that template, you just plug in that template to your site and do some 1 or 2 adjustments. So if you are supposed to use like 1 hour to build the site, you can end up using 30 minutes because you are trying to make use of some prototyping tools to make your work much more faster. So let me try and clean. So that's for this section here, but sorry, can I clean? I'm just writing jargons. I will try and share the document later on. So I just want to give us a quick summary about difference between web design and development. I think while trying to give a small explanation about all this whole section, I've also tried to state some things about the similarity. I mean, the differences between web designer and also web development, right? So at least from the little explanation, we should be able to like know the differences between the two, right? That's just what I wanted to try and explain here. So basically, like I said, designers are more of like an architect. So you're trying to build a house, you need to have like a plan, right? How you want the site to look like. I mean, how you want the house to look like. So that is what designers do. Oh, okay, yeah, thank you. So, sorry. Oh, I'm not. Okay. So, this section. Thank you. Yeah, I guess we're back now. Okay, the lights. Yeah, so I guess we're back now. So, like I said, I was trying to say something about the differences between web designers and web development. Yeah, so as I was saying, I said I've already tried to give like a quick summary about the two, about the design, web design, and also web development. So look at the first point. It says focus on how website should looks or how it should looks, right? So I said something about designers. Designers will only design how they want the site to look like. They don't know anything about coding, right? Their own is just to design the stuff, how it should look. They can say, oh, we want so banner here. We want so banner here. We want another banner here. We want another banner here. So that's work of design or web designer. Or in the IT world, they call them product design. Yes, so that's what they do. Their own is to design how a website should look. Then web development focus on how the website actually works. They are the one that will do the coding, the hard coding itself. So if a designer says this button should be like this, designers and web developers or software we normally fight. Yes, because they can come up with a design out of this world. They don't know how the coding works, right? They will just come up with that word, with that design. And you as a developer, when you see that stuff, not that you can't do it, it will give you like some extra time for you to like code that stuff out. So they will just come up with different buttons. They can say they want the button to be like this. They can say they want the text to be like this. If a text is supposed to be straight like this, they can say they want the text to be like this. Imagine how can you write a text to be like this? So that is what designers do normally do, right? They want just to design how the website looks like. Then designers also come up with the layouts, the colors, font, spacing, images, overall, blah, 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 blah. So there's what they call color palettes in designers or in web development or in software world. Color palette is more of like, you have like maybe 3 to 4 or 5 colors that you want to make use of throughout the site. Let me ask us a question. Do we all know the colors for Facebook, right? Blue, right? Yeah. So, and let's say Instagram. I don't know colors, right? I know it's red. I don't know, maybe it's fuchsia red. So they have red, like, right? So all these websites, they have their own color palettes. So they can have like maybe 2, 3, or 4. Now that's another notion about these web designers. They are the one that will come up with the color palettes. So they can have like 4 different shades of red. We know how to get the code, right? So they can come up with different fonts. They are the one that will pick the fonts. They can say they want the site to use maybe Calibri Body or Times New Roman or different other fonts. And once the design are through with their work, then the coding aspect will actually start. Then I say something about the tools, about the tools or design tools. Yeah, we'll see the Figma there. We have the Adobe XD and we have Sketch. So these are the basic tools that designers use to design a website. And also, I think I've mentioned that too. Programming languages use the ones there. So we have the HTML, we have the JavaScript, we have the PHP and Python. Those are like the major ones, yeah, that you can actually learn. So part of what designers do also is they try to create a wireframe, mockups, UI prototype. All these are like, so from their own section, they have like different steps in designing a website from the web designer angle. So they have what is called wireframe. Wireframe is more of like what I've actually done here. So they can draft out something like this first. They have this stuff on Figma. Then from then, they can now start saying, oh, they want this one to be round. They want it to be sphere. They want this side to be like this. This one to be like this. Maybe like an house stuff. That is what wireframe does. So they have this kind of a skeletal stuff in the wireframe. So from the wireframe, they will now take it to mockup. Mockup is where they will now start adding all the other fonts, colors, and text, content, everything to it. And the UI section is what the developers that we will see, that will try to use to design the site. Sorry, can you scroll down a bit? Scroll down. Okay. Yeah, so it involves user experience. I've talked about user experience and user interface, right? That's more of what designers do. But also, from our own end, from the web development too, we also focus on that too. So as you can see here, if user, let's say for example, um, from the web designer, the design is more, let's say Facebook, for example. I don't know why I like using Facebook. So let's say, for example, they design the outlook of how Facebook, how they want Facebook should be, for example. Once they are through with the design, then we'll then, sorry, is the mic working? Okay. So we'll then, so from the web development, once we get to this section here, we have what is called, like I said, we have front end, we have back end, right? Front end is what you will see when you're opening Facebook. When you're trying to log in, you input your username or email, right, and your password. Where does your information goes? It goes to this section here. We'll still get to that. Oh, sorry. I thought I was using. Sorry. So it goes to the database. So it goes to the database. So the database actually stores your information. We'll still talk about that in a broader scope. So that's for that. Can you hear me scroll down a bit? Okay, yeah, it's still more of what web designers normally do. Like this one, they focus on the branding and aesthetics. So aesthetics is still more of like um, the looks based on the product requirement. There's what we call product requirements too during software development. Then make sure the site is intuitive and easy to use. Now imagine you trying to open Facebook, for example, and where you log in, at least for a traditional Facebook, if you try to open Facebook, you still log in at this section here. Imagine you want to log into Facebook, for example, and when you open the site, you still have like a button that will tells you, click on this button to take you to login page. You'll be like, how can I be navigating to another page to log in? When you can easily just put the login at the first page of the site. So what this one does, this point here that I'm trying to explain is, when designing the site, they always try to make sure that it's actually very easy for users to navigate, easy to use. So designers, they don't really write code, as you can see. Designers will not write code, but developers will do. We write more of the code. Yeah, I think that's it. So developers write the code, make sure the site is actually functional. So when designers design this stuff out for us and they say this one is for login and sign up, when developers sees those kind of actions, it knows that yes, this sections is a login. So when user clicks on the login, it should take them to a page where they can log in or like a pop-up for them to log in. And also developers, we handles the, okay, that's the functional aspect. Then database. There's what they call database. There's what they call servers. Database, let me just give us a sneak peek on that. For database, is more of like what houses your information. Imagine you're trying to sign up on a platform and you put in your details. Where does your details goes? Yeah, it goes to the database. And servers is more of like like a middleware or like I'm trying to use a simpler way to. Okay, let me use this section here so that we understand. So these three section here, this database server and APIs, this is like the section. So for you to have an API, you need to have a server, and from server to database to API. So API is a term. Let me give us this one. It's called application programming interface. Now, looking at the word application programming interface, what the API does is it serves as like a middleware between you, the user, and also the database. So imagine you trying to log into your platform or to your account and you input your email and password. And let's assume you input the wrong password. It's going to throw an error, right? So there's what they call some type check from the backend developers. They are going to write some kind of code that will do a check if the username matches with the password. If not, it will throw error. And if it matches the user's credentials, it's going to log you in. So the API serves as like a middleware. So it tries to interact between the user and also the database or the server. And I was trying to say something about this software, like you can always try and prompt me, right? I'll still try and give us a broader scope on this. Then quick analogy. Yeah, I think I was trying to use this one too. Think of a web designer like an architect, right? They want to just plan how the website is to look. Then the developers are really want to. They are like the builder, right? They are the engineers that will build the site. So we can scroll down. Can we scroll down, sir? So overview of web design processes. They do some more of R&D. They do R&D, research and development. So of course, I'm just trying to think of this as probably it's your own personal project, right? But in the software world, this section actually cut across the client or the product owner, or the product owner. So, but let's still focus on this niche. So for a design process, of course, as a web designer, you do your own research, right? Let's say, for example, you want to build something. You do your own research. What do you want to build on? What solution do you want to like offer? Then what are your niche? Stuff like that, etc. So you gather all those informations, gather your scope, the objective that you want to achieve. Then you come out with a plan. So you now use some maybe the Figma or Adobe XD to design that solution that you are trying to build. Then it will come to the wireframe. It's still more of like a further explanation of what I've actually tried to explain before. So this is where creating of sitemap, sketch, or build wireframes. So like I said about the wireframes, wireframe is still more of like how the first look that designers actually use when starting to build the site. So you can see here, it says they make use of like pen and paper. So they can use like a pen and paper to sketch out something like this at first. Then they can now start mapping out the design. Yeah. So that's for that. Okay, so design the UI. I've already talked about that too. Like they are the one that will choose the color palettes. Color palettes are more of like maybe you want to stick with red, then of course you know there are different shades of red. Or if you want to stick with blue, there are different shades of blue. So you have to stick with the color palette. That's for a designer. So they stick with that. And also mobile responsiveness is also part of designers' work. So when designing the site, they do normally design the mobile view for the site too from the Figma. That's work of designers. Then also feedback and revision. Let's say for example you've already launched or you've designed the stuff either as a product, I mean as a web designer for example. You've designed the stuff and you can actually show it to people. Oh, look at what I've done. Is there any changes, any improvements, any suggestions? So you collect your feedbacks and see how you can improve on the product. So let me scroll down. So yeah, the development, as you can see, optional for designers. That is where the major work actually comes in. So for developers, we'll now start thinking of what kind of framework do we want to use. Um, yeah, what kind of prototyping tools we want to use to design the site. That is where web developers actually comes in. Then they develop the sites based on how the designers actually sketch out the whole layout. Then they test on different browsers. So when developers actually develop the site, they also take into consideration like user can try to browse the site using their mobile phone. So they try to emulate the mobile responsiveness for the site too. Then the testing and optimization. Testing is like more of like checking the test. So if designer says layout structure at the maybe a developer can actually omit the E at the structure. Yes, those are some common
Praise
errors
the Lord.
in designers. I mean in web
Praise,
development. So
praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
hello, hello. All right. So the testing is where, like I said, is where probably end users. So also in software world, we have people that they call software testers
Praise,
or quality assurance engineer. So these are the ones that will start checking the sites. They do a little bit of coding too as well. So they're the one that will check the sites, check the test, check the contents. Is everything okay? They check the accessibility sections too. And people with visually impaired, can they make use of the site? Those that are deaf, can they make use of the site? So these are some tests that QAs actually carries out on the website or on mobile application. So they try to test the site, check the test, check the contents, the colors, the fonts, everything about the site. And they also test how visual appealing is the site. Let's say, for example, um, they can test using Firefox or using Chrome, different browsers, different phones. So that's for the testing and optimization. Sorry, can you scroll down? That's it. Yeah, yeah. You can scroll down. Yes. I've passed the side. You can scroll. Yeah. Okay, yeah, launch. Then launch is where, yeah, I've already talked about that. Testing and optimization. I was saying something like, okay, so there's a section I made mention of that. They call them QA tester or software testers. So they are the one that will test the sites to make sure that everything is okay. They check the text, check the colors, the contents, and they also try to test for different browsers or different phones to make sure that the site is actually appealing, irrespective of the mobile phones or web browsers. So that is what they do here. Yeah. So you can scroll down. Then the launch. Launch is when you launch your site. So launching of websites. Okay, so for maybe for the text environment, there's a way you can actually launch your site. Or maybe if you write any code, if you want to test it out on a browser, we'll definitely give you a walkthrough on that. So there are different ways of launching your site. We'll definitely probably after this training, we'll definitely build a small portfolio or a small website. Then we'll launch it by ourselves. Then we'll do a final check, mobile responsiveness, SEO. At least we've heard about the word SEO, right? SEO. I've heard about the word before. SEO, search engine optimization. So it's more of like another broad work entirely on its own. So SEO is more of like, let's say for example, you build, let's say you build Patrick.com. and you want Patrick.com to be ranked first. I see something about niche, right? Let's say I build this site, Patrick.com, and the site is more of like electronics. Of course, I have a lot of competitors already, like Jumia, Kunga, the rest. Now, let's say, for example, a layperson tries to make a search on Google, like let's say, where can I get the best LG in Lagos, right? When you search for that on Google, it will brings out a list of some sites. So lay users like you and I, of course, I can't scroll down. I will definitely click on either the first link or the second link or the third link. So that is where the SEO comes in. SEO tries to, there's what they call keywords. There are some keywords that people use when searching Google, right? I use one simple analogy now. Let's say, for example, you want to buy a best TV now or a best LG product. What are the words that you use? Of course, you will try to ask Google, like, where can I get the best LG in Lagos? Because you stay in Lagos, right? Or where can I get the best TV in Ikeja or at Ikeja? So if you try all those words, it will gives you like maybe thousands of links, right, on your Google search. So that is where the SEO comes in. SEO tries to plug in some kind of keywords. When we get to the HTML, I will give us a broader scope on that. So the SEO tries to key in some basic words that you and I use when we are trying to search for a particular product online based on a particular niche. So I'm using the electronics as an example now. So I want to buy, let's say, for example, I want to buy iPhone now, for example. I'll just search, where can I get the best iPhone in Atikeja? Of course, I'll get like thousands of links, right? So you and I know we want to click on either the first top 5 links. So what this SEO does is you are trying to put your site at the first page of any Google search, either Google or Bing or DuckDuck or any other search engine. So that is what the SEO does. They try to optimize your site that is actually visible to people, and you get more attraction to your site. That's what the SEO is all about. Then announcing your site and share your website. You can do that either by marketing or maybe stickers or using some social content people to market your site. Then maintenance is, of course, there's a notion, no software is actually perfect, right? Even WhatsApp, there's still updated dates. So of course, there will be updates, there will be bugs. Yeah, this word, you'll be coming across this word every day or every time as long as you are a developer. Bugs are more of like a, how can I put it? Are more of like an error in your code. So you definitely want to fix them. Bugs can actually attribute to either from the user section. Let's say, for example, you launch an app on maybe Google Store or iOS Store now. Let's say you have 10 users and 5 users try to log in and the remaining 5 can't log into the site. Of course, if you check Play Store, you see different comments, different reviews. They will say, oh, your site is this, your app is that, they can't log in. So when developers actually check the stuff and try to see where the issue is, that's where Keyway comes in. So they will try and check what is the issue that can make the XYZ users not be able to log in. So they will try and fix that bug. That's where the fixing of bugs comes in. Then keep plugging up to date. So plugins, I will try and give us a notion of maybe if you want to build a WordPress website, for example. Of course, instead of using normal coding stuff, you can also use WordPress. But I don't like training people for that. It will make it to be a lazy developer. So WordPress actually makes use of plugins, right? So in web development world too, we have what is called plugins too. So, plugins are more of like an aided tool that will help you in writing your code much more efficient. Then monitor traffic and performance. You can do that either from your hosting partner, where you see the traffic of your website, who visits your site, the IP address, different countries or different region, And of course, you can build your website and target some countries. Yeah, there are some websites that you can't visit here in Nigeria. So you can set your niche on where you want uh, users to browse your site. So yeah, the summary of this is research, plan, design, feedback, develop, test, launch. So it's still like basic summary of what we've tried to explain so far. Research is you want to build a solution. Let's say, for example, I want to build a software that will compete with Facebook. So you do your own research. What are the things that Facebook does not have that you want to solve? You do your research, then you plan about it, do design, feedback, develop, test, launch, and maintain. So the next section is we have principles of good design. It's the notion of crap. At least we've heard the word crap. Call the crap. Call the crap. So call the crap or the crap is the first one is contrast. Contrast is first one is purpose to make elements stand out, guide viewers' attention. I don't know. We can always try and read through this. Basically, what this one is all about is it's still like the section of the web designer. So as a designer, you are trying to build something. Of course, you are trying to make sure that your content is actually appealing, making sure that it's actually much more interactive to users browsing through your site. So that's what basically all this content is all about. But we can always read through that. Then, okay, testing 1, 2, yeah. So we have the repetition. So in development world, we have what is called dry. Don't repeat yourself. We'll get to that later on. So that's what repetition. We have the purpose is to create consistency and cohesiveness. Looks across design. So it's a part of what designers actually try to do. Then how? Repeat your design elements. So I said something about the color palettes, the fonts, the colors. So as a designer or a developer, once you are given the fonts, let's say for example the home page uses Times New Romans. Of course, you have to stick with that same font all through. So if you use Times New Romans here and use Calibri body here, you've tried to break some kind of rules. So you have to stick with what is there. So alignment. Alignment is, I would say, it's actually to we developers. Yeah. So when designer actually gives you this, you need to make sure that all what is in the design actually aligns. What you are designing from your own end aligns with the designer. Then proximity to group. So all this section, like I said, is still more of like issue web designers. All these sections here. Can me scroll down, yeah. Can me scroll, yeah. Yeah. So why use Scrap makes your design much more readable, easy to navigate, visual appealing, professionally polished. So all these are like more of like what I've actually tried to explain before. Then web design tools for trade. You can scroll down. I think I've tried to explain this. Can me scroll down. I think I've tried to explain that to all the design tools, all these ones. I've tried to mention. Yeah, I didn't make mention of Canva. You can also use Canva too. Canva, yeah, you can use that too. And code editor, I think I've explained this too. Can we scroll down? Yeah, I think I've mentioned this too. We have VS Code, we have Sublime, we have Atom. Yes, you can use Atom too. And for web browser, of course, the most popular browser is Google Chrome. Then we have Firefox. I didn't put Edge. We have Edge too by Microsoft. So these are like tools that you can actually use to browse your sites as you're developing it. Then I also talk about these dev tools. So the way some hackers actually try to penetrate your site is if you didn't try to encapsulate your code, I would have said I should give us a notion. Probably in the next class, I will show us some stuff. How it's only for text purposes. Only for text purposes. So even GT Bank, there's a way you can actually get some stuff for text purposes, right? So then for testing and optimization, we have Google Lighthouse. So this Google Lighthouse is if you try to right click on your browser, on Google Chrome for example, and you click on the dev tools, I will show us where you get this stuff. You see this Google Lighthouse. So it's more of like some tools that developers use, probably on the SEO section. So I'll also show us this section, so you can scroll down. Then Wave. So these are more of like, this is from the QA side. So quality assurance engineer, they'll be the one to do some accessibility check about the sites. Yeah. Then the responsiveness of the app, it also cuts across the designers and also the developers. Then version control, we'll still talk about this. This is also like a broader scope on its own. You know, I was saying something like, okay. So version control, this is also like another entire course on its own. So we have Git and GitHub. I will see explain this probably in the next class. Then we have, so what this one does is, let's say for example, you have a company, a software company, and we all are developers here, right? And I say, oh, you build header, you build sidebar, you build footer. How can we integrate the code together? So that is what this guy does. So it actually enhances collaboration among developers. So if I write something on a particular function on a code, I'll push it to GitHub. So if you write something, you push it to GitHub. So then we'll now merge our code together. So that is what Git and GitHub does. Netlify is what hosts your site. So like I said, probably after this training, we'll try and build a small portfolio and we'll host it on this site, Netlify. So this platform can actually host your sites. Yeah, you can use it to host your sites. Then GitHub, you can also use this guy to GitHub pages or Netlify. There are so many others that you can use to host your websites. Then assets and inspiration. Yeah, so this one is, I would say it's from Web Designer. Like I said, they will choose the fonts. Is it Times New Roman or is it Calibri? They will choose the fonts and developers will pick the code from there. Then all this on Splash, probably you're trying to make use of some third-party images. Yeah, so you can actually make use of this on Splash. It's a site and Pixel. You can get any images for free. So you can get images from there, plug it to your site. You can either use the URL, plug it into your own site, or download the images from that site, from this site here, and add it to your own site. Then this font RSON is where you can grab fonts. So I was saying something like, there are some prototyping tools that actually makes your work much more faster as a developer. So this is also one of it. So this platform, they have a predefined tools for styling different tests. They have icons, different icons. If you check, for example, like this, something like this now, if you are checking any site, something like this. All these are like icons. It's from this, you can get from this site. There are so many others, so I'll still try and like explain that later on. Then we have Dribbble and Behance. All these ones are just to get inspirations about, let's say for example, you want to build an e-commerce platform.